G'day YouTube, warbles on a lot here. It's a blue sky day and I haven't got any pizza. Takes me 3 days to eat a pizza, rewarmed, 2 slices at a time. So anyway, I think I'll go to town and get a pizza. Okay, camera be rolling. Decided not to edit the driveway into the shot because my neighbour was on his tractor and I knew I should probably have a bit of a chat to him, and I didn't think he'd particularly want the chat to be on camera. Just taken over. Used to be my neighbour's son, now he's my neighbour. So anyway, 23rd of August, 2025. And there have been developments in the excited status of Norte Americano, so I suppose this will just about have to be another one in the Trumpocalypse Chronicle, episode 21. Yesterday's news was that the FBI has raided John Bolton, who used to be Donald Trump's national security advisor in the first administration. And he has been an outspoken critic of Donald of the Trump variety. But it's also been said that he might have actually read something, and because he's got a mind like a steel trap, he might have said something in an interview and not actually purloined any documents, but he might have made a slip of the tongue. But apparently the warrant the FBI acted upon was issued as a result of an investigation which commenced during the Biden administration. It's just taken the FBI this long to get onto it. And of course Trumpy doesn't like the bloke, so therefore he's in the shit. But apart from that, recent developments diametrically across the Pacific from here in Australia include, but are not limited, to the point that homelessness has been declared unlawful, if not at law with a statute, certainly in the way the Americans are speaking. To get out of there. So now the National Guard in Washington have got their weapons. And it's against the law to be homeless, as well as against the law to be brown without documents in the US. Awful lot of American citizens are carrying their passports just to go to work because they know they're going to be stopped by ICE and searched. ICE and Homeland Security consider themselves immune from the Posse Comitatus Act. Therefore, they reckon they're entitled to act against American citizens. And just as global warming is ramping up as a result of a tipping point which flipped in 2015, 10 years ago, and which civilian climate scientists have only just noticed and written papers about, that Donald Trump was a president in 2015 when the events occurred, and it seems to me as a matter of speculative hypothecation that, considering the amount of high-tech study which the US Navy has conducted into the underwater environment in the Great Southern Ocean for the purposes of being able to work undetected in a nuclear submarine, or to detect somebody else's nuclear submarine working, it occurs to me that if anybody could be expected to have noticed when the southern meridional overturning circulation current reversed itself, it would be the US military. So I wonder whether Trumpy's reason for struggling so hard to remain in power was because perhaps he had some idea that the climate is about to turn on us rather nastily. But that's kind of speculative, perhaps far-fetched, but I can imagine that he and a bunch of his mates would rather be in command of everything able to decide where the resources go and when, rather than being powerless as the next president. Admit that many times in the course of the Trump presidency I've asked myself, why would he do that? It's as if he's attempting deliberately to deconstruct American culture and civilization and society. It's as if he wants America to have absolutely no resilience in the face of any kind of environmental problem. So perhaps it's just personal, individual, nihilistic desire to see how much money you can make before the environment wipes out the economy. It could be that he's been told about the Antarctic sudden shift back maybe 8 years ago, and he's decided that he just doesn't like the idea of it, so he's going to go into denial. Could be where and when and why he decided that climate science is a hoax and climate change is a hoax, and claiming that the globe was not warming. Suppose I could have ridden on the carriageway for further with this one. It's safer when you've got options, but it is a bit more complicated. So yeah, Donald Trump's response to the coming epidemic of homelessness caused by environmental destruction wiping out towns and suburbs and cities has been to declare homelessness unlawful and to tick off on the construction of 1,000 copies of Alligator Auschwitz, the concentration camp in the Everglades of Florida. So the poor bloody Yanks, they've lost their Medicare, lost their Medicaid, lost their supplemental nutrition program, lost their social security, lost their veterans affairs, all their local little hospitals are closing down, and more places are they're uninsurable because of their risk of destruction of the buildings and infrastructure from climate related incidents. And if you can't insure anything that you're building or buying, then you can't borrow money to buy it or to build it. That means the only people willing to buy in those areas are people who've already got the cash, but they're too silly to recognise what a bad investment it is to buy property in a bushfire fuel bomb or on a floodplain beside a river. I think a lot of Americans are going to find themselves homeless and living in a camp. Percent of the battery remaining. So I really don't know what to suggest to my American subscribers and viewers. Moving to Canada might be a good idea, but I don't know how well they can organise that. Not really the sort of thing you can do at the drop of a hat. And last week, in all the torrential rain that hammered the coast, caused flooding inland. I don't know how it was achieved or why it was able to occur, but I spent a couple of days watching the radar on the mobile phones through the Bureau of Meteorology, and there were really big, bad, nasty storms forming in south-central Queensland. And there were big storms forming off the coast of Queensland. And the storms forming off the coast seem to come in and hammer the big cities on the coast and the Gold Coast, and the storms in south central Queensland proceeded from a position northwest of me to a position southeast of me, but instead of coming over the top of my place, and hammering my place, there we go. I'm now in a 60 zone and this fella should theoretically couldn't come up my arse. All the worst of the weather went west of me and east of me. The stuff going to the west went out and hit all the inland, the irrigation farmers, and all the stuff that went to the east went down to the coastal plain and hit everybody living in the housing estates and tourist tracks and caravan parks. On the floodplain where the dairy farmers went rope during the drought back in the 1970s. But personally, we got 28 millimetres over about 2.5 days. Quite pleasant, gentle, soaking rain. And I don't know whether we're going to get much in the way of extra rain from now on, because I think we seem to be getting a little bit of a dry season and a fire season at the start of summer, and another one at the end of summer, with a bit of wetness in the middle, so to speak, and I've got to admit that's what I'm hoping for. Now there's something new here in the main street. I don't know whether it's going to show in the chest camera view, but on the central light post, other side of that power transformer, there's 4 very large high-profile surveillance cameras. And look, there's 4 more. And there's another 4 over the top of the motorbike. And then there's nothing on these ones, but if you have a look at the awning in front of the town hall, there's 3 cameras there, and there's the same on the other side of the road. And there we go, there's another 3 cameras or 2 cameras. And then up here on the central pole, there's 4 of them. And they haven't been installed or connected here so far, not as yet. But no doubt they will be. And apparently the story is there was a spate of shop front windows being kicked in the middle of the night. And that was considered to be just opportunistic vandals. But the big scandal was when somebody showed up in the middle of the night and picked all the flowers, dug them up. And then, rather than have the brains to go 100 kilometres or so and sell them at markets, oh no, what they did was they advertised them on the local Facebook buy, swap and sell page. So they got busted fairly immediately. And then the Chamber of the Horrors of Commerce had an absolutely perfect excuse to lash out and put really in your face closed circuit surveillance cameras in the main street. Shows that one wrong. watching the mirrors and worrying about whether the regenerative braking tells anybody what you're doing behind you. And apparently America's going to try and frantically redraw their electoral map as the politicians select their voters. Rather than the voters electing the politicians. So once again, as to whether the Americans are going to have a free and fair election for the midterms in November next year, colour me doubtful. I just don't see it occurring. But yeah, nobody particularly likes the idea of the cameras, but the cameras is what we've got. And apparently we're following in the footsteps of Great Britain, where such cameras are absolutely normal. In every street, in every town, in every village, every settlement, they're all over the place. So I'm told. Not real certain whether it's entirely true, but that's the legend. Now sitting on 70% of the battery. Doing 49 in the 50 zone, and it feels quite pleasant. Standing stones are a happening thing. So yeah, what do you reckon? Could Trumpy's accelerated extremism be based on the idea that somebody told him when he was president about the tipping point having flipped? Could he be trying to set himself up with an elite of hyper-rich oligarchical billionaires? Hoping to entrench themselves against the changing of the climate. Or is it all just fortuitous? He's kicked and bit and scratched and scrabbled his way and lied his way into power, thinking that he's going to be founding a dynasty that'll last for 1,000 years. And he's clawed his way to the top just when the whole bloody rotten edifice is about to crumble and fall down around his ears. Second stage regenerative braking maintains 23 kilometres an hour down there. Okay. Average of 52 watt hours per kilometre, 18 kilometres. So, 53.58 kilometres, 26 minutes. Average speed 42 because of all that slow riding around up here. 18 kilometres, 26, 42. Max was 76. Right, and by the look of that, I've had a microphone cord fluffing around and maybe the whole thing is going to be a useless video. Anyway, one does one's best. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. Ciao.